So the last several weeks, we worked on opening the psoas, and that led to work with the sacrum. And the sacrum, its natural position is slightly in, which is called nutation. And then with a back bend, when we press the pelvis forward, it encourages that lumbar curve in the lower back, and then it invites the rest of the spine to back bend too. The sacrum can do the opposite as well. It can tip a little bit out. That's called counter nutation, and it draws the lumbar spine into flexion, into like a forward bend, and encourages the rest of the spine to forward bend too. So the sacrum becomes like the rudder and steers the movements of the spine. And when we get more attuned to this pumping, pulsing, undulating pattern in the spine, then we begin a dance with duality. We start to work with the interplay of opposites inside of our bodies. And part of the goal of the practice is when we can get that interplay of opposites in the very fabric of our being, in the muscles and the bones, then we're better able to dance with the opposites in the world around us too. Because yoga says, as long as we're in a human body, we are enmeshed in a realm of duality. There is sun and moon, day and night, masculine and feminine, inhale and exhale. There is also pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame. And we'll always be in this pendulum swing of opposites as long as we are here. And yoga says that suffering occurs when we try to chase after what we deem as desirable and run away from the things we deem undesirable. And yoga says that's problematic because you're always going to have both. And so instead of this kind of chasing and running, what if instead we can maintain a steady center and have more poise, equanimity, and grace, and really ride those waves of experience? And so that's part of what the practice wants to teach and train us to do, and to really feel that, to get it more in our bodies so we experience it. It's not something we just think about. It's something we actually feel in the asana practice, which is one of its great benefits. And so to really feel that, we are working with this interplay of opposites over the next several weeks. Last week, we did grounded lightness and a whole vignette of balance poses. And this week, we're going back to something that's kind of old school for me, which is this idea of muscular energy and organic energy. I was initially trained in a system of yoga called Anusara yoga, and that's where these terms come from. I'm adapting them a little bit due to years of growth and learning and expansion. But this idea of muscular energy is a drawing in. And they would say specifically from the periphery, from like hands and feet, through the core lines of the body, and they would say into focal points. I would translate focal points to bandhas because we use those a lot more, and I think they're much richer and deeper and more interesting. So it's from the periphery into the bandhas. It's also towards the midline. So like when you hug in, draw in, when the inner thighs pull in, that's part of that gathering power and potential. The other kind of direction of muscular energy is the muscles hug around the bones. And you want that to feel like the rings on a tree. So the muscles engage concentrically. Organic energy is the inverse. It's the radiating out from the bandhas to the periphery, from the core to the periphery. It's moving away from the midline. Just like when you pull the legs in, that's muscular. When you press the legs apart, organic. When you reach the arms out like you're trying to increase your wingspan, organic energy. Organic energy is also the muscles moving away from the bones. This creates a sense of lightness and spaciousness in the body. This is happening naturally all the time. This practice is designed to embellish it, encourage it, get some clarity and confidence with it. So the whole practice, we're going to be doing this dance of inhale, drawing in, exhale, extending out, muscular energy, gathering power, organic energy, using that power to open up. Now, this will feel rich and rewarding and even intoxicating unless your mind gets a hold of it. And when the mind gets a hold of it, the mind will try to put it in like the ping pong match. I do this and then I do that. Black and white, yes and no, good and bad. And it's much more circular than that. Just like waves, when one wave is kind of coming up onto the ocean, there's another one being pulled out at the same time. It's much more of a relationship and interplay versus wave in, wave out. Does that make sense? Right? So keep that in mind with your own body. Get into more of that intuitive, almost listening to this happen inside of you versus trying to direct it with the mind.